Welcome everyone. I hope everyone is having a great time playing a lot of games. And today I want to talk about the research I did along with the project. I'm going to give some introduction. So board games have been bringing people together since the ancient times, probably on Egypt or Mesopotamia. But nowadays, as the board games popularity rises and more people want to join in the community, we have to make sure that we make people feel included, or at least they have the tools to try some games and know if they want to be included on the community or not. If we compare the research done on video game accessibility, the board games accessibility research is lacking a lot, and this creates a huge gap. And in my perspective, this gap was an opportunity to explore how can board gamers prioritize accessibility in their creative process. At the moment, game designers struggle a lot in creating accessible board games because we don't have clear universal guidelines for them to create accessible board games. And this will unintentionally exclude a lot of new players and especially new buyers of the games. And in my perception, we as game designers should work together and talk to each other about this topic, sharing some insights, sharing some practices, so we can start solving this problem as fast as possible. Making accessible board games means thinking about a lot of different topics. We have social economic needs, physical needs, cognitive needs, and each dimension plays a crucial role, but sometimes it's just not feasible to put every single one in one game because of any possible reason. But we as game designers have to at least try, can and should try, to put as much of these needs in adapting as much of these needs as we can with the resources we have on that moment. And even if you don't have resources on that moment, you can make a regular game and then make an accessible adaptation for the ones that need it. And one thing I want to talk about is accessibility isn't just a legal thing or something to make us look better as game designers. It's much more than that. It's about welcoming somebody at our table. It's about kindness. It's about being empathetic towards the other. And by fostering accessibility, we aren't only thinking about inclusivity to other people, but we are talking about inclusivity to ourselves. And what I mean by that is we get older, our abilities get weaker, maybe life throws us curveballs, or not even that, maybe we just have situational needs. For example, we have a baby on our arms and we just have one hand to play the game, or we broke an arm, or maybe we just get home late from work and don't have the cognitive ability to read a long list of rules. And maybe we need just a little bit of help, and that's totally fine. I had a lot of questions on the beginning. I had a lot of things that I wanted to know, but I had to start somewhere, so I narrowed it down to these questions. And basically what I started with was I wanted to know how much game designers think about accessibility during their process. If they have any challenges, how do they solve these challenges? Do the solutions vary between game genres, between target audiences? And that was I wanted to know. And no one better to give me data to answer these questions than the game designers themselves. So I did a couple of interviews. I did 26 of them in total, 7 women and 19 men across all these different countries. They varied from all ages and all different types of experience. The ages varied between 20 years old and 63 years old, and the experience varied between 3 years in the industry and 40 years on the industry. So I wanted to gather as much diversity as possible to have, like I said, diversity in perspectives to answer this question with the information I had. So I made the interviews. Some was here on Leiriatalks last year, and others was virtually. I recorded all the all the interviews, I transcribed them, every single word they said, I analyzed them and I code them, and I had roughly 571 pages of data, so that was quite a lot. So I categorized the data and I put on all these different categories. I had everything from if they ever felt excluded in their community, if they have problems creating games in general, not only accessible games, how many languages do they think board games should have, and if all those languages should be inside of one box, each one should have each box, each individual local box, if the instructions should be online and the box should be only in English. I had a lot of different aspects. Obviously, I can't talk about every single one of these because I will be here all day. There are a lot of them. But I put it four or five that I thought it was relevant. But later they will all be published on an article under the gaming project and maybe transform into a handy booklet so game designers don't have to read an entire article about it. So these are some of the results I chose to put it here. I gave them literal names so it's easier to remember them. One in particular that I think it's really important, it's this one, designers versus editors versus player skill. Basically, when I was talking to the game designers, I asked them who has the responsibility of making a game accessible, and most of them said that they should be the responsible person to make a game accessible, but others said that the publisher should be the one having that responsibility because they have more knowledge of the industry, more knowledge of the target community. And the other game designers said that the level of accessibility of a game is based on the player skill. Like they said, one of them said, people without feet can't play football. So you won't and you shouldn't play a game that isn't meant for you. So I had a couple of them like that. One is consideration about colorblind. All of the game designers, surprisingly, make adaptations for colorblind people, or they put symbols if they can make contrasting colors, or they put contrasting colors, and that's what they put. One thing I want to say is the responsibility of providing instructional games. All board gamers said that visual instructions like the ones on YouTube are really helpful, especially for the younger generation. But we had different perspectives on who has the responsibility of putting those videos up. Some said that the publishers should be the one doing it, or at least should pay someone to do it, and others said that the publisher shouldn't do any of that the own community can do its own videos, and that was all the perspective. And the other thing I want, because I don't have much time, the disparities perceptions about based on gender. Men, when I talked to all the men game designers, mostly white male, they all said that they never felt discriminated, they never saw any kind of racism, sexism, ableism, or all the isms. And only 2 game designers said they ever felt judged, and was because they don't like complex games and were judged by the other male game designers because they don't like complex games, was the only thing I gathered from them. And on the other side, female speakers said they felt everything. They felt sexism, they felt racism, they didn't feel welcome in any kind of way on these kind of conventions. So obviously my research isn't perfect. I think none research is perfect. My sample size, even though I had a lot of pages, and it was 26 game designers, it's still quite small. I had a lot of Portuguese game designers because I was here in Leiriatalks and it was easier to talk to them. So maybe I should vary more the countries and have more countries, more females, because even though it's a male dominated industry, I would like to see more female perspectives. And I only had one person of color. It was a black woman from the United States, and she gave a lot of interesting perspectives about representability and historical games and how she felt about the community. In conclusion, I want to say that accessibility isn't just a buzzword. Like I said, accessibility is about kindness, it's about welcoming, it's about being kind to one another, and it's a fundamental principle that should guide our actions on this industry and beyond that. And by fostering accessibility, we can create a gaming community that welcomes diversity and adapts to the changing need for players. Like I said, collaboration and communication is key, and I think my part here, I hope my part here makes a difference. These were all the references. I want to thank every single game designer that I interview and all my colleagues. And thank you, I hope you like it.